Imagine walking through a palace corridor, echoing with the laughter and cries of over a dozen royal children. Now picture doing that while pregnant again. For centuries, queens across the world weren't just rulers or royal consorts. They were dynastic engines expected to produce heirs as though their empires depended on it. Because quite literally they did. Throughout history, the role of a queen was often measured not by the laws she passed or the court she commanded, but by the children she bore. Many of these women endured decades of unending pregnancies, high-risk childbirths and crushing grief, all for the survival of a crown. Today, we delve into the astonishing lives of the most prolific royal mothers in recorded history. Noble women who gave birth to armies of princes and princesses. Some bore as few as 14, others as many as 23. But behind every royal birth was a woman navigating a life of duty, danger, and devotion. Mumtaz Mahal. Let's begin with one of the most romanticized figures in Indian history, Mumtaz Mahal, born in 1593 into a Persian noble family. At just 19, she became the beloved wife of Shah Jahan, heir to the vast Mughal Empire. Though one of 3 wives, Mumtaz was his favorite, his soulmate. After siring a child with each of his other consorts out of obligation, Jahan turned his full affection to Mumtaz. Their bond was so profound, she accompanied him not just to court, but into battlefields. Over their 19-year union, she gave birth to 14 children. Only 7 lived to adulthood. Among them, the influential Jahanara, Bium, and Aurangzeb, who would one day become emperor. But childbirth, for all its glory, was perilous. During a grueling 30-hour labor with her 14th child, Mumtaz bled to death. Her youngest, Gohar, survived, but the emperor was broken. In his grief, he ordered the creation of the Taj Mahal, one of the world's most breathtaking murals, as a monument to their eternal love. He was laid to rest beside her 27 years later. Queen Charlotte. Fast forward to 18th century England, and we find Queen Charlotte, consort of King George III, born in 1744. She was a German princess who became a queen at 17. Their arranged marriage blossomed into a genuine partnership, with both monarchs shunning extravagant court life for a quieter existence, surrounded by their ever-growing brood. In just over 2 decades, Charlotte gave birth to 15 children, an extraordinary feat, even by royal standards. Among them were George IV, William IV, and Prince Edward, father of Queen Victoria. Despite her devotion, Charlotte was candid about the physical toll of constant pregnancy. While expecting her 14th child, she wrote, "I don't think a prisoner could wish more ardently for his liberty than wish to be rid of my burden." Yet her love for her children was unquestionable. The queen outlived most of them and died at the age of 74. Her legacy endured not only in bloodline, but in shaping a royal family revered to this day. Queen Anna in the grandheart of the 16th century Habsburg Empire, Anna of Bohemia and Hungary entered into what began as a dynastic alliance and transformed into a rare royal love story. At just 18 years old, she married Ferdinand I, grandson of Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I. Together, they would not only shape the future of the Habsburg dynasty, but give rise to a lineage that changed Europe. Unlike many of her inbred royal peers, Anna's fresh genetic background provided a vital infusion of health into the often frail and disease-ridden Habsburg bloodline. Her 15 pregnancies were not in vain. 13 of her children survived, a remarkable feat in an era when child mortality loomed over every cradle. Among them were future emperors, queens, bishops, and even nuns, each positioned strategically across Europe in roles of immense influence. But such prolific motherhood came at a steep price. During her final labor, Anna contracted childbed fever, a common, often fatal postpartum infection, and died at the age of just 43. Her loss was more than personal. It was a political blow. Ferdinand, devastated by her death, never took another wife. He honored her memory for the rest of his life and ascended as Holy Roman Emperor 9 years after she passed. Queen Elena traveled back to the 13th century, and you'll find a queen who lived not in luxury but on horseback. Elena of Castile, a Spanish princess, married her cousin Edward, later King Edward I of England, when she was only 13 years old. This was no ceremonial union. She rode beside him into battle, marched through rude terrain on crusades, and brought new life into the world again and again, 6 times in total. But medieval life was unforgiving. Illness and war were ever present, and Elelane endured the heartbreak of losing most of her children in infancy or early childhood. Only a few survived to adulthood, including the future Edward II. Despite these personal tragedies, Elelane's devotion never faltered. She followed her husband into war camps and foreign lands, often pregnant, sometimes grieving, always resolute. Her final pregnancy weakened her irreparably. While journeying north with her husband in 1290, Elelane succumbed to illness. In his grief, King Edward I ordered the construction of 12 elaborate stone crosses, one for each stop her funeral procession made from Lincoln to Westminster. These Elelane crosses still stand as enduring monuments of royal love and loss. Queen Maria Carolina, following in her mother's formidable footsteps. Maria Carolina, daughter of Maria Theresa, married King Ferdinand IV of Naples and Sicily at just 15. Though she loathed her husband and dreaded the marriage, 3 of her sisters had died before they could marry him. She ultimately became one of the most powerful women in southern Europe. Despite their loveless union, Maria Carolina fulfilled her royal duty to the fullest. She gave birth to 17 children. Tragically, only 7 would survive. But she didn't let personal loss or an unremarkable husband hinder her. She seized control of state affairs, shaping policy and strengthening royal alliances through her surviving offspring's strategic marriages. Her reign wasted by the French Revolution, which claimed the life of her beloved sister Maria Antoinette. With Napoleon's rise, Maria Carolina's own kingdom came under siege. Eventually forced into exile, shedded in Austria at the age of 62. Broken by revolution, but remembered as a queen of iron will and relentless dynastic ambition. Queen Anne, few monarchs knew grief like Queen Anne of Great Britain. Over the course of 16 painfully difficult years, Anne was pregnant 18 times, and yet not a single child survived into adulthood. The loss was relentless. Miscarriages, stillbirths, and infant deaths haunted her days and nights. Her only son to live beyond early childhood, Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, died at just 11. Modern doctors believe Anne may have suffered from Hughes syndrome, a blood disorder that causes dangerous clotting. This would have made her pregnancies nearly impossible to sustain and contributed to the health problems that plagued her later years, ultimately confining her to a wheelchair. Despite this unimaginable personal sorrow, Anne guided Britain through one of its most politically tumultuous eras. She became the first monarch of united Great Britain in 1707 and left behind a legacy of political transformation. When she died in 1714 at the age of 49, the Stuart dynasty died with her, her bloodline extinguished by tragedy. Queen Dowager, and now we arrive at the queen who broke all records. Queen Dowager of Georgia, also known as Daria, was the wife of King Heraclius II. And between the ages of 12 and 42, she gave birth to an astonishing 23 children. It remains one of the highest confirmed counts for a queen consort in world history. But motherhood in the royal Georgian court was no simple matter. Dowager's role wasn't just biological, it was political. Her husband had children from a previous marriage, and she fought fiercely to ensure that her sons, not the stepsons, would inherit the throne. She persuaded the king to alter succession laws, sparking deep tension in the royal family. After Heraclius's death, chaos erupted. The crown passed to her stepson, George XII, who promptly ignored the altered will. Their rivalry with her own sons escalated to open political warfare. Russia soon intervened, seizing the kingdom and annexing Georgia into the Russian Empire. Dowager, stripped of her status and power, was exiled to St. Petersburg, where she spent the last years of her life under close surveillance. She died in 1807, far from her homeland, a mother of 23, a queen in exile, and a woman whose political instincts rivaled her maternal legacy. These women were more than just queens. They were the lifeblood of empires, the bearers of generations, and often the silent architects of dynasties. Behind the glittering crowns and gilded thrones stood mothers whose strength shaped the world, and their stories deserve to be remembered.